Morris Reid is in our central London studio. He's a former senior aide to President Bill Clinton and is now a partner at crisis management and political consulting specialists Mercury. So, Morris, investors, it was revealed today, global investors have their largest weighting in US stocks for 18 months. There's a lot of good news priced in here, isn't there?
Well, listen, it's unusual for it to drop so significantly since the election, but business wants continuity and stability. What you saw yesterday was what you saw with the rolling out of the travel ban was a little recklessness and a lack of planning. So it rattled the market, and people are starting to worry. The Trump magic may be wearing off. He just can't shoot from the hip when you're the leader of the free world.
What's been the reaction to his meeting with the pharma bosses this afternoon? It's a bit of a mixed reaction in their share prices. I mean, he's offering them less regulation, providing they boost US production and lower their prices. I mean, it's hard to square some of those circles, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting because they were in the bullseye. If you remember, he talked about pharma and drug companies quite a bit through the campaign. He's looking to get money, and he believes that the drug companies may have the money to help him fund whatever he's going to propose for the Obamacare repeal. So it's a little mixed bag. The drug companies had to be there. I'm sure it was a bit uncomfortable because they know, although he is saying the right things to them in the room, they understand that they ultimately may be the target.
It's interesting. He's been wooing the drug companies. He's been wooing the car makers. Silicon Valley has clearly taken against him over the travel ban. Which is the next sector, do you think, that Trump's going to try and love bomb? I mean, he hasn't really had any of the Wall Street bosses in that much yet, has he?
Well, it's interesting. He sat down with the Silicon Valley crowd and really tried to bring them together and sort of have a kumbaya moment. But he doesn't understand that Silicon Valley needs to have an influx of talent, those immigrant talents, those great big brains from around the world coming in. So that's why you saw Microsoft, Google get out aggressively against him on the travel ban. So it's interesting. He actually wants to make amends with them, but he's doing things that are counterproductive. It's interesting also that you haven't seen the Wall Street guys, the guys that he demonized quite a bit during the campaign. But if you look at the people around the table on his staff, there's lots of bankers in the room, Ian. So it's quite funny that he demonized them, but they're populating his staff. So perhaps they may not be the next target.
Interesting, yeah, several Goldman former staffers in the administration. But, of course, Lloyd Blankfein, the Goldman CEO, was actually one of those who was quite critical of the travel ban yesterday, wasn't he?
Well, he understands, again, if you are a global bank like Goldman Sachs, you want to attract the best and the brightest minds to come and work for you. And that means they have to have access to America. So Donald Trump should understand this. He's a guy who's done business around the world. The problem for him is that he gets so far out front on his narrative that he doesn't give his room to back up. I think it's a little unusual in that they were going to roll out the Supreme Court justice nominee on Thursday. They're now doing it tonight. So that tells you they may see things are perfect and things are working, but clearly they're trying to change the story.
Now, tomorrow, of course, we get the Federal Reserve's first policy decision since Mr. Trump became president. Are we expecting any fireworks there? Janet Yellen, I noticed last week, was warning about a nasty surprise on inflation if the Fed didn't remain vigilant. She's clearly quite worried about the kind of fiscal stimulus that Mr. Trump has in mind, isn't she?
She is, and guess what? She may be the next person on the bullseye. If you say, who's his next target? She has always been the target. And when he disagrees with you, he sort of blames you for his problems. So it'll be interesting to see what she has to say and the comeback via Twitter, because I'm sure it'll be Twitter first thing in the morning from him, blaming her for all things that are bad.
Were you interested in the moves in the dollar today, Morris? Donald Trump's chief trade advisor was saying that the euro was undervalued. Donald Trump himself said that the yen was undervalued. It's almost as though they're trying to talk the dollar lower.
It's so weird because here's a guy who understands the power of a strong dollar, and it is unusual that they're talking so much about this. It's always been the policy of America to have a strong dollar. So the fact that he's trying to make it weaker, I think he's trying to help exports. But this is a time when the world is looking for a strong currency. The euro, and Europe is having problems, so the euro can't be that currency. Now, the real question is, can the pound be it? Probably not, because it's not as globally distributed as the dollar. So I don't understand what they're trying to do. I've always been in favor of a strong dollar. Middle-class Americans and people in the Rust Belt need a strong dollar. So it's interesting to see what he's doing. This is sort of counterproductive to the people that put him in the White House.
All right, Morris, got to leave it there, I'm afraid. Good to see you as ever. Morris Reid there.
Thanks, Ian.